Hello and welcome to this edition of the Diaspora Central Spotlight. With me today in the studio, ladies and gentlemen, this man is a musician, he's a writer, he is an author, he is a poet, he's a pianist, professionally plays classic music. Most people would have probably called them classic fingers, but guess what? He's actually ECHEZONACHUKWU Nduka, Mr. Nduka. Eche! Welcome to the Diaspora Central Spotlight. Now, you thought I was going to mess up on your name, didn't you?
Yeah, because I know it's such a mouthful for some people.
Yeah, it is a mouthful.
Yeah,
So let's go ahead. Let's hear the correct and the right pronunciation. ECHEZONACHUKWU.
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 Yes, ECHEZONACHUKWU Nduka.
Wow. Nduka.
Yes.
Now, what's the meaning of the name?
Yes, so it's an Igbo Christian name.
Okay. And by Igbo, you mean like?
Yeah, it's one of the Igbo is regarded as one of the major ethnic groups in Nigeria. There are over 200 of them.
Okay.
Igbo is one of the major three.
Okay.
As a result of the population.
Got you.
Part.
Okay.
Yeah, so in Igbo, that's a Christian name in the Igbo language of Nigeria. And ECHEZONACHUKWU, it means do not forget God.
Do not forget God.
Yeah, that's the first name only. ECHEZONACHUKWU, do not forget God.
So if someone comes to you and says ECHEZONACHUKWU, that means do not forget God.
Do not forget God, yes.
It's a powerful name.
Yeah, very powerful. That is why, you see,
Yeah,
I'm very particular.
Indeed.
About having the full name.
Right.
Yeah, particularly when it's something really formal. You know, the short way to say it's Eche. So
Right.
we say ECHEZONA, but it's Eche for short.
Yeah.
But if you want to say it in full, it's ECHEZONACHUKWU. You
Okay.
see, the thing is, when you say Eche, it doesn't really have any full
The same
meaning.
It's no impact.
Yeah, there's no impact.
It
Eche
doesn't
is
mean
like- which is like
culturally.
thinking. Yeah,
Right.
culturally, it
Culturally
doesn't have any
means
impact.
nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
Then ECHEZONA means do not forget. But then do not forget what?
Yeah.
But when you say ECHEZONACHUKWU, now
Okay.
you're saying do not forget God.
See, and
so the culture where I come from, naming is very important.
Right.
It's very significant.
Yeah.
Yeah, names matter.
Indeed.
You know, it could be philosophical. It could be something about the situation where you were born. It could be a prayer for you by
Indeed.
your parents. Could be speaking into your future.
Yeah.
It's very important.
Indeed.
You know, like, some other cultures that are, perhaps far removed from that sort of,
Right.
a tradition where, maybe they give names because it sounds good and all of that. We don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, names have meanings and we take it really seriously.
Indeed. No, I totally understand. Yeah, ECHEZONA.
Yeah.
Yeah. That means don't forget you
Don't
home.
forget.
Yeah, don't forget you home. So I could just said ECHEZONA, you home.
I'm home. Thank
Yeah.
you. Home.
Yeah.
That's a tricky word. but
Indeed.
I like it. I like
You
that I'm home.
look, you just taught us a little bit of Igbo. You actually gave us a lesson in Igbo today. So today, just based on what you have said, our audience should already know how to say "do not forget"
God.
and God,
Yeah.
right? So Chukwu is God.
Chukwu is God. Yeah, that's one way to say
Right.
God in Igbo.
Right.
Because God, there are so many perspectives. Chukwu is God the Almighty.
Okay.
And we also say Chineke. in
Chineke.
Igbo. Chineke means God the Creator. So, some say Olisa.
Olisa.
There are many ways to
Right.
say God, but because
But Chukwu, right.
But Chukwu is God,
Yeah.
like the Almighty.
Yeah.
Because of course there are dialects, even in the Igbo language. Yeah,
Indeed.
there are different dialects. So people have other dialects have many other ways.
Right. I mean, after all, this is you guys, Nigeria. This is the most populated country in the African continent. The most tribes in the African continent. I mean,
That's right.
yeah,
Very rich
very, very.
culturally.
Yeah, very, and that's a good thing because you guys have pretty much a mix of just about every culture in Africa.
I'm
That's
telling you, Gil.
it's so funny because one day I'm watching this documentary and all of a sudden it was about Nigeria, and all of a sudden I'm hearing, yeah, this is the Portuguese area of Nigeria. The people here used to speak Portuguese and da 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 da, and I'm like,
Yeah, it could be the area that first, came in contact with the Portuguese
Right.
traders.
Exactly.
Because there were a lot of traveling.
Right.
At the time, historically, there were,
Right.
we traded with the Portuguese.
Right.
So,
And
yeah, there was that contact.
And the funny thing about that community is that as I was looking at the homes, the way those homes were built, the city or that was built, it looks almost like Lisbon, because Portugal is built in a specific manner. Just about every Portuguese colony has this one neighborhood that is somewhat similar to what Portugal or Lisbon is like.
Yeah.
And they like a lot those white fronts, right? And I was looking at that, and when I hear them saying that, I'm like, oh Lord, here we go.
There are
Nigeria.
over 200 ethnic groups. In fact, some put it at 250 or
Right.
more. Many
Yeah.
languages,
Yeah.
many languages.
Yeah,
In
'cause
fact, a lot of Nigerians do not even know
Right.
so much about the other cultures, ethnic groups in Nigeria.
It's just
There are the
whatever
major
group
ones.
you're in.
Yeah, and then many other ones, and then you have all kinds of diverse, very display
Yeah.
of culture. It's very complex.
Wow.
It's a complex thing.
Yeah. You come from a big family?
It depends on what you call big family.
Okay.
Yeah, how big? What makes a big family?
Well, let me tell you what a normal family is, right? A normal family will be grandfather, maybe 2 to 4 children, father, giving you somewhere between 2 to 4 siblings. Anything beyond that is big. That is small.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
but if we talk an African normal now is 10 people in the family. That's
no,
normal.
that's too much.
That's too much. Okay, so then you come from a small
That's too
family.
much. No, that's too much, Gil, because you saw the recent news about the world population. We've got we are like at 10 billion now.
Exactly.
No. 10. Anyways, I don't know.
But we're still underpopulated.
Yeah.
We're still very underpopulated. Africa is underpopulated. I mean, just think about it. Angola has probably had the greatest growth in population because Angola in the 90s, Angola had like 14 million people. And right now it's almost double that.
Yeah, that's
Right? We're like at 28 to 30 million.
Yeah,
And that includes people in the diaspora.
in the diaspora. I
Right.
think Nigeria did the same because we're over 200 million now.
Yeah, you guys I think like 300
We
or
are-
something.
It's a lot now.
You're
in
right
Nigeria.
behind, man. You guys behind the U.S. if not beating it.
Yeah,
and I'm saying behind the U.S. because, in all honesty, remember that in Africa, when they do the censuses, it's not quite like here.
Yeah.
So you miss a lot.
Yeah, the
So
accuracy,
that could be
yeah.
a possibility that Nigeria may be
And of
more
course, we have
populated
a
than
lot of
America.
people, population in diaspora, Nigerians in diaspora, all over,
Yeah.
all over the globe.
I mean, not to spread gossip, but word on the street is that the diaspora actually puts as much money into Nigeria
That's right.
as the annual budget of the Nigerian government.
That's true. Diaspora remittances counts for that's at the top.
But
I think it's becoming. I think it's more than the oil now.
That's a
billions.
good thing.
I'm talking about
Yeah.
billions of
billions,
dollars.
right? That's
Billions
like
of
I heard the number. I think was like 12 billion or something like that.
The diaspora communities actually, they contribute a lot,
Right?
immensely.
Yeah,
to
I
the
think
economy
they.
of
Yeah,
Nigeria.
I think they told me it was somewhere close to 12 billion.
Yeah, it should be more than that.
Ooh.
Actually,
Man, that's
yeah.
You guys
Annually.
got plenty of money.
Yeah, but we've got a lot of professionals, all kinds of people,
Yeah.
in the diaspora working so hard,
Yeah.
at the top of their game, at the top of
Indeed.
their professions.
Indeed.
Talk about the medical doctors, or
Yes.
the professors,
Yes.
engineers, all of that.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
we export.
No,
we have quality
trailblazers.
people,
Yeah, trailblazers.
Sure, a lot. And
Yeah.
then they send money home and do all of that.
And-
a lot of things going on. So that's important.
Right, and that's the one thing that, in all honesty, I think I gotta give to Nigerians, because unlike other African ethnic groups or countries, Nigerians have really been the first ones to ensure that they sending at least 25% of what they make here back home.
It's cultural. Community
Yeah.
is very important to us.
Yeah,
We don't do the individualistic, sort of
things.
thing, family, you're
Yeah.
on your own and all of that. We
Right.
feel indebted to each other.
Indeed.
We always try to pull up other people. Listen, if you're successful,
Right.
that success is not just for you.
Indeed.
it is for other people as
Yeah.
well.
And it is
So
necessary.
we have that even in many African cultures, that the community owns a child
Mm-hmm.
and all of that. So you see someone, they say, oh, this person is a doctor now, is a lawyer, or is doing so great as whatever. The whole community is rejoicing, everybody's coming together.
Right.
So whatever success you have, it's not just for you.
Yeah.
So that culture of giving back, it's
big.
normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
big.
something big.
Yeah, so you owe that to your family at first, because we say family charity starts at home.
Mm-hmm.
You have to take care of your people, make sure everything is okay. Then give out to the community, to the larger society. Yeah, so it's important.
Yeah.
It's normal.
Yeah. ECHEZONA.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do not forget. Do not forget that the community is what builds
Yeah, that's important.
one.
Yeah, that's
Now,
important.
let's kind of talk about you specifically. What was that community like? What was that group that actually formulated the ECHEZONACHUKWU that we today know as the great pianist, poet, and author?
Well, my first community is my family.
Mm-hmm.
Very dear to me.
Yeah.
Very dear to me. I come from a very close-knit family.
Okay.
My dad was a clergyman. He's retired now. He works as a clergyman.
Okay. You can say his name.
For many years, Eugene Nduka,
Yeah.
Venerable Eugene.
Yeah.
Nduka.
What church?
He's an Anglican clergyman.
Okay.
Yeah, so he was ordained as an Anglican clergy in the diocese under Niger
Okay.
in Onitsha, in the city where I was born.
Okay.
So he was ordained there in 1980 as a deacon, priested in 1981. He started serving in the area in Onitsha until 1987, when his boss, his senior pastor, was consecrated bishop. So he took him as his chaplain, and they moved down to Oka, to the next city where they formed a new diocese, and from there they continued on and on and on.
Yeah.
Yeah, in 1994 he was made a canon of the church, and then on the 16th of March 1997 he was made an archdeacon. So now an archdeacon is a position that is next to a bishop in administrative order.
Gotcha.
So so from 1997 until 2017 he worked as an archdeacon for 20 years until he retired in 2017. So
Wow.
I've been I've grew up in the church environment.
Yeah.
My first community has been my family, my church, the several organizations in the church, all kinds of organizations that come around in the church and all of that.
Yeah.
So I started hearing music quite early and took interest in it quite early, all kinds of music. But I was most fascinated by classical music because it kept reverberating, the music of the choirs, the organ, and all of that. And, that really left an impression. And I wanted to play that music.
Yeah. Now,
I wanted to play that music.
When was the first time that you ventured to stick your fingers on the piano, on the keys of the piano or the organ in the church?
I was 12.
12.
Yeah.
So at that point, you had seen people play, but you
a lot.
really...
I wanted to play. In fact, in high school, I was a junior. I was a choir boy. We were singing in the choir.
Yeah.
But I was more interested in
playing.
Yeah.
So
for me, the guy playing stood out. Everybody was singing. But it was only this guy that was playing.
There you
so
go.
I wanted to do that.
You wanted to be the one making sure that everybody else was.
Yeah. So when I got home during the vacation, during the break, some little money I saved, I went to a store to pay to get a keyboard.
Okay.
But the money wasn't enough.
Oh, wow.
So I made a down payment.
Okay.
It wasn't even a good keyboard. It was like a toy. It was more or less a toy.
Right.
So when I got home, my mom, Rose, bless her soul, she's passed now.
Okay.
Yeah, she
rest in
gave me
peace.
the part of the money, and I went back and paid for the instrument.
Yeah.
I brought it home and started, learning on myself, on my own. Like I started as a self-taught pianist before I actually started taking lessons. And
Really?
all of that. Yes, I started I play by ear. That was how I started before I started reading notes and all of that.
So you were really driven. You like, oh, I'm gonna get this thing.
Oh, I would go for hours without eating. They would be calling me, oh, food is ready, everybody's going to eat. I would be playing. I played and played.
On that toy piano.
Yes.
Do you remember the brand? Do you remember the brand of the piano?
No, but I remember the color. It was pink.
Yeah.
It was pink. It was pink. I remember it was small. It wasn't even that wasn't even it was small like a toy keyboard.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I had to put I got the paper tapes and I put on the keys to write the tonics of a do, re, mi.
Got you. Right. A, C,
so,
yeah.
So
A, B, C, D,
and all of
E,
that.
F,
So
G, right.
Yeah. So but then when that spoiled, my dad, my father, he supported me a lot.
So you got do re mi fa sol la ti do written on the
everything. Yeah, so I started playing. So already I knew hymns and all of that. So I would try, figure out the stuff. Then I got the hymn book, Ancient to Modern, and then the tonic software, and then I'll play by ear. I had to, like, I started learning. I didn't wait for anybody to teach me or any of that. So I started learning on my own.
That's being driven right there. That's God. See, that's God right
until
there.
my father bought me my first actual keyboard.
Okay,
now sent my elder brother to get a keyboard.
Now, what brand was that?
That was a Yamaha.
Yeah. Now you're big time.
It was PSR 550 at the time.
PSR.
Yeah, PSR.
Yeah, we all went through those.
PSR.
I went through a PSR, I think 75 or 375. Yeah. So at that point, now you got this Yamaha. You're like, oh yeah.
Now we. And I'll tell you what, my family was my first audience. So because when I started playing and learning to play, I started playing the hymns. I started with the church music first, because that was what was closest to me. Started playing the hymns and all of that, the gospel songs, the short gospel choruses we sang in church. But then in my family, we had this devotion, when we would gather and pray. And I became the pianist of the house. So during that devotion, it wasn't anything like serious that you have to play music for. But then I would set up and then I'll play the hymns and all of that. So
you were the producer.
Yeah, I said, yeah. So my first audience actually as a musician was my family.
There you go.
Before I started playing outside, playing in the church and in school and all of that. Yeah.
But you know one thing that is very interesting?
Yeah.
That's when you really end up building the chops that can carry you outside. Because at home, they don't hold back. Yeah, they don't hold back. If you're making noise, they like, man, can you please stop that noise? Eventually, if you got them paying attention to you, you know that you definitely got something.
Yeah, when I started, my siblings were like, oh my God.
This guy.
Yeah, but at some point, they were like, go on. We're supposed I was the noise maker, man. I played.
How many siblings?
Okay, so I'm the fourth of 5 guys.
Okay.
5 boys.
Okay.
But now I have 2 younger sisters.
Okay. Yeah. So then you guys are 7.
Yeah, we're 7 now.
Yeah.
We used to be like
7.
5. But my mom passed after some years. My dad had to remarry.
Okay.
So we now have 2.
So
two
you have 2
sisters.
more. Okay.
Yeah, so we're now 7 in all.
Got you.
Yeah,
okay.
5 guys, 5 boys, and 2 girls.
No, that's a big family right there.
Yeah, that's big now.
Yeah, that's a big family. Yeah, indeed. And school. Because trust you me, if you that devoted to music at 12, when you sitting at that desk in class, I know your fingers are going like the teacher is wah 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 wah. Yeah. Right, you do re mi fa sol la ti do.
Music did something to me. Particularly classical music. There's something about music, that resonance, that reverberation. Like, even when the music is stopped, it's always in your mind. It keeps coming back.
It's the peacefulness, man. It's the peacefulness. It brings a level of peacefulness. And I tell you this because I was not as bold as you are. Now, I was like, I learned how to play, and when I need to be in that zone, that's what I'm doing. And I know when I need to get there, and that's really what kind of get me. That's been one of the constants in my life. And my first was not a pink piano, because in my neighborhood, a pink piano, I would be in trouble.
That one was more like a toy. It wasn't even
the toy. No, I know what you're saying. I'm just messing with you.
A pink piano, that was like.
In my neighborhood in Angola, no. But I had the air piano, the one that you blow into with the keys.
I know that one.
So that was the first one, and it was like once I got that, man, it was just like woo. And then eventually, when I got to America, I got given by Mrs. Clark and James Clark. They gave me my first Casio piano, a CTK Casio. Something. Yeah, it was a Casio with 4 yellow pads on top.
Yeah.
That one could sequence a little bit. Man.
Sequence? Oh, you started producing beats.
I was... What?
You started working on beats. Now,
man, listen,
I know what happened.
From that point on, I was a producer, and I'll be honest with you. As great as that was, because honestly, that's what helped me become versed enough to be a producer, is also the same thing that made me not really pursue learning how to play like I should, because at that point, as soon as I make the beat, I'm good.
So that one took you away. But it's all
Yeah.
good. It's all good.
But
that tells you how vast,
Right.
how wide music
Indeed.
is.
Very.
Like you can have 10 people go to the same source
Exactly.
and come away with different things.
Yeah, different perspectives.
With different perspectives.
Yeah.
You go to that instrument
Yeah.
and then you see beats and then you're
Yeah.
more fascinated by that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
and you pursue that.
Oh, yeah.
Some of us pursued the notes and started
Indeed.
playing this
Yeah.
chords.
Oh yeah.
and
Oh
all
yeah.
of that.
People stay
So
on
it's-
chords and things like that. Yeah.
So
It's
fine.
definitely.
Yeah. So school. Talking about school. School played a very important role.
Yeah.
Particularly from high school. So I attended Bishop Crowder Seminary
Okay.
in Oka, the capital of Anambra State in
Okay.
Nigeria.
Okay.
Bishop Crowder Seminary is a high school for Anglican seminary, belongs to the church.
Okay.
So that was where I started as a choir boy. I was in the choir. I was also in the debating society
Yeah.
and all of that. But as regards music, I was in the
Right.
choir. I started singing. Then I had more interest in learning to play the instrument. So that was where I started.
Yeah.
And all that, began to play. And then at some point I started playing for the school, the chapel.
Yeah.
During chapel worship, I'll be the one playing and all of that. I started playing classical music by ear.
Yeah.
Classical music, Handel's Baroque music,
Yeah.
oratorios, Handel's Messiah. I'll be playing. You would think
that-
I'm playing the score, but no.
That's a great memory.
I would
Yeah.
listen to music
Yeah,
and then I'll go to the keyboard
right.
and play.
Yeah,
and I
what-
still do it today.
Right.
It helps me,
Indeed.
actually. So
Yeah,
I listen
I mean-
to a song and then I play.
Right, because I mean, normally once you get the first note and you understood the arrangement and the progressions, you're good.
Yeah, you're good to go.
You're good. So let's take a very quick break and kind of show you, like, in that perspective of your artistic, how can I say, expression, if we may. We'll be right back. And we are back. If you have just joined us, you're now tuned into Diaspora Central Spotlight. And my guest today, yes, it is ECHEZONACHUKWU. Yeah, do not forget God.
Exactly.
He can perform great miracles, man. Yeah.
That's right.
From playing by memory into becoming a piano player that reads.
Yeah. I started taking lessons.
Yeah.
So what happened was at the choir, the music teacher of my school at the time, Ms. Amaka Igwe, she graduated from the University of Nigeria and took
Okay.
Department of Music. She studied music. So we had a choir practice. Then at the end of the session, she was walking away. Then I started playing Handel's I Know That My Redeemer Liveth by ear. She stopped
Right.
and then walked back to me and stood there. I
Right.
didn't stop.
Yeah.
So I kept on playing. But when I was done, when I finished, she walked up to me and said, "That was good. Do you know how to play notes?" I said, "No. I only play by ear. It's because I've listened to this song over and over again.
Right.
And I love it.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to play it." I wasn't even playing it on the key. It was
Right.
That music is in E major, but
Right.
I was playing on E flat.
Gotcha.
Right. So
Yeah.
that means I could play it on any key. I just need to listen to it
Right.
and then I play. That was what
Yeah.
I was doing.
Yeah.
And he told me, "Okay, so two things. I have a funeral I'm going to attend and I'm going to sing there. Please, we are going to practice. I need you to play for me, accompany me, and I'll sing this song."
Yeah.
Then number two, we are going to get you a small woods piano tutor, right?
Right.
And then you start taking lessons,
So you can learn how to read
so
music.
you can learn how to read music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
So-
let me ask you this question though. On the fingering, the technique, were you good at it, or you were just
well, I would say
somehow
at
before
first,
taking class? Because at that point, if you're already playing that song by ear that way to impress a teacher, that means you've been playing a lot.
Yeah, but of course I was playing a
Yeah.
lot. I was always practicing.
Yeah.
If I wasn't like doing schoolwork or with the debaters, because
Yeah.
I was very active as a debater,
Right.
debating society or any other thing. That means I was on the keyboard.
Wow.
Choir practice, I was on the piano. So
That's
music
it.
took most of my time.
Yeah.
I did sports, but I was a
Yeah.
sprinter. Like I did 100 meters dash, but
Yeah.
I wasn't playing soccer and all of that.
Dash 100 meters, go sit down on the piano.
Yeah, that's it. So I did the 100 meters. The highest I did was like maybe 200 meters.
Yeah.
And then I worked with others like to do the relay race,
Yeah.
passing the battons and all that. But that was it.
Yeah.
I didn't play, the football, the soccer and all of that. So I was always back at the keyboard.
Yeah.
So, but now I do not recall how my fingering, but
Right.
I know that I was playing it.
Yeah.
But a lot of corrections, a lot of things
Indeed,
started happening
yeah.
by the time I started.
You start taking
lessons.
classes. Yeah.
Yeah, classes, because then you have to do it the right way.
Yes.
The fingering, the numbers, and all
Yeah.
of that. Yeah.
Even slows you down a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
But now with benefit of hindsight, I think
Yeah.
that it was good I started playing by ear first, because
Yes.
now I have this sort of balance that my musicianship, it helped it, because
Right.
I can play the score and I can also listen to music and play by ear.
Right. You
Yeah,
can
because
join. You
there-
can join any group.
Yeah,
that
any group,
is
because
sitting,
there
yeah.
are many classical musicians. If you take out the
Indeed.
score, they can't play nothing.
Yeah.
You just
Quite
have to
true.
score anything.
Quite true.
Yeah, I've worked with people like that, and sometimes it's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but me, I don't have to wait for scores. The score is important.
Yeah,
That
indeed.
guides you. That's the music there. But you have to play, also learn to, have
Quite.
that kind of balance. So I'm very grateful to my teacher.
Yeah.
She
Which is
played,
good. Do you remember her name?
Yes, Amaka, Miss Amaka Igwe.
Miss Samaka.
Yeah, I think she's Dr. Amaka Okonkwo now. She married one of
Okay.
our teachers at the time.
Oh wow.
Yes, and I came back. I had
Yeah.
graduated. I came
Yeah.
back to play at a wedding.
Whoa! Wow! Nice.
Yes, and
Yeah.
she conducted the
Right.
that was, I think it was The King Shall Rejoice
Wow.
from Handel's coronation anthems. We
Yeah.
played a lot of Handel, Baroque music.
Oh,
I
man.
came back. Yeah.
This is
very,
great.
very important.
This is
my
great.
teacher. Yeah.
So how does that transition then happen for you to now make it to America?
America,
Or to outside of Nigeria?
Outside of Nigeria,
Yeah, depending on what path you took, because some people will take Europe first and then
yeah,
the US.
that was the part I took.
Uh-huh.
I did Europe first.
Okay.
So I went to the University of Nigeria in Nsukka to study music.
Okay.
And there was a lot of influence from that teacher, because I had wanted to study law.
Okay.
Yeah, I was top in the arts class.
Well, you're
English,
part of the debating.
government.
You're part of the debating club. I mean,
And all of that. Yeah, everybody. Once
Yeah.
you do so well as an art student, it's like, oh,
Right.
this guy is going to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
Everyone was like a given.
Yeah.
When I said I was going to study music in the university,
Everyone was like, "What in the
it
world?"
gave my friends and some teachers a lot of concern. It was a cause of consternation. They were like, "Oh my God, what's going on?
What are you doing?
Yeah, they say, hey, listen, this music is nice, but you can still study law, be a lawyer,
Yeah.
and then play music as a hobby." I said, no,
Right.
if I'm going to play this music, I want to do that professionally. I want to go study it and see what's going on in there.
Right.
So I filled my forms. I said music first choice, of course, University of Nigeria and Nsukka. Music second choice, of course,
Yeah.
Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife. That's in southwest Nigeria.
Right.
Yeah, but I went to Nsukka, the UNN, the University of Nigeria, because it was in the southeast and it
Yeah.
was close, for proximity's sake.
Yeah.
So I went there, studied, had lots of help, notably by Dr. Adebowale Adeogun, my piano teacher at the time. Had
Okay.
Professor Christian Onyeji,
Yeah.
who played very vital role
Okay.
in molding me as a musician and as a pianist. He also supervised my degree project.
Okay.
Because I focused on performance,
Okay.
specialized in performance, classical pianism, classical piano music.
Yeah.
So these people helped me. So from there, I thought I did some lecturing in Nigeria. Then I moved to Kingston University, London, where I took a master's degree in music.
Got
So
it.
from London, I got back to Nigeria,
Yeah.
and from Nigeria, I came to the United States.
Yeah. Now, one question: when you do that exam, you did performance.
Yes.
When you do performance, are you creating a piece of your own and performing it, or you taking a piece that has already been created and you performing just that piece? How exactly does that process work?
No, I didn't have to create my own piece. It
Okay.
was the
Already.
pieces, and you have the
Yeah.
modules,
Yeah.
the repertoires,
already done, right.
already. So like you take from the classical music, era,
Yeah,
some
you pick something.
Mozart, sonatas, some Beethoven sonatas, and some pieces maybe by
that's
Schumann or Schubert,
Right.
and then but. Most interestingly was at that point in the University of Nigeria in Nsukka that I was introduced to the concept of African pianism, being these piano music by African composers, solo
Right.
piano music on
Yeah.
its own.
Yeah.
I was fascinated by that because I know, of course, that there were, voice, solo pieces for voice, for by African composers written in African languages with piano to accompany them. But having a piano work on its own, mirroring that tradition was something.
So,
just piano music solo.
Exactly.
Like I would sit down and play a Schumann or Beethoven.
Right.
I would just play piano music solo of an African composer. That was amazing. And
Do you remember? Do you remember who introduced you to it?
Christian Oyeji.
Yeah.
Yes, Christian Oyeji. He supervised my project, and I was studying Beethoven. Beethoven, I had the sonatas and everything. Yeah. But then he gave me, in addition to the works I got, we selected his own compositions. Because he's a composer and a pianist par excellence. The man is a pianist in his own right.
There you go.
A composer, an ethnomusicologist, music educator.
Yes.
Very highly respected.
Wow.
Christian Oyeji.
Wow.
Yeah. So he had very great impact on my career. In fact, he got me my first job as a paid organist at the cathedral.
Okay.
Year
so
one.
At that point, you're getting money.
Yes, year one, when I came in as an undergraduate, he took me to the cathedral, St. Paul's Cathedral in Osaka.
You're going to work as a pianist.
And then I started playing at the cathedral. They started paying me. It was this professor that took me there.
Now, let me ask you this question.
So, he introduced me to that. Yeah.
So you even started working earlier, because if you're going to law, you wouldn't be working as you're studying.
No, see, that was normal. I'll tell you something.
Yeah.
In the Department of Music, right, many of our students, undergraduate students, were working. In fact, most of us traveled down to Enugu, one of the major southeastern capitals, southeastern states, to work as directors of music in churches, as organists. We play events, shows, gigs, and all of that. Some of our students had cars. We had music producers as students. Music, you don't have to wait to get a certificate. Nobody needs a certificate if you're going to perform.
If you're good, you're good.
No, you're
going to get paid for that.
And you're going to get paid. So we were balling.
So you guys were the ballers out there.
We were balling. Music students, have money. Particularly if you're good, you play an instrument or you sing, you go for events.
Yeah.
So most weekends we travel and then come back on Sunday or something. No, I'm prepared for school the week.
Right.
Most weekends, music students are all gone, playing events, directing music, playing in churches and all of that. So
a whole different cool. Away from the radar, but a whole different cool, because people then only see the results. They just see
results,
you. Yeah, you're pulling out all the big pieces on the wrist, and, the whips.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, the
well,
big
that
cars.
was an advantage.
Yeah. And then they start noticing, like, okay, yeah, he's cool. What you do? Oh, I'm a pianist. Yeah. No. At what point did you feel that, okay, I definitely have this thing in the bag. This is me, 100%.
I would say it was after my graduate recital, when I had to play my recital, graduate, that I played, over 30 minutes nonstop, playing this music.
Wow.
Sonatas, Beethoven sonatas, playing piano music by my advisor.
And you're going from piece to piece.
Piece to piece, just flowing through like that. Usually I would accompany, play for, play as an, accompanist, collaborative pianist. We also played in like music ensembles and all of that.
Right.
But sitting down there,
by yourself,
on stage by myself.
That's you.
Yeah, and wasn't through all the pieces.
Yeah. Interpret this.
Yeah, and of course my advisor really helped me, because, like I said, he was a pianist in his own right.
Yeah.
So I think he was doing some research work in South Africa at the time. But shortly, before we had that graduate recital, he came back to Nigeria and we sat. He really saw me through just to make sure that everything was ready, because I also played some Chopin and all of that. Yeah, the man was really good. Christian Oyeji.
Once you got out of that bench that day, you were like,
I said, wow, okay, maybe this is something I could do. It was a lot of work, because in addition to that, you still have to write your normal project, your thesis and all of that. I did my analysis of the pieces, wrote about that, learned about other pianists and all of that. I did my normal book, dissertation, and also performed.
Indeed.
So it was a lot of work, and I also assisted some of my classmates in performances. Those that were voice students that were going to perform, I played for them as well. It was a lot of work. Then we were quite busy. Yeah, you
still paid your dues.
I did. Yeah. I did, brother.
But you came out the other end and looking good. So you make that transition back to Nigeria, now you to the US.
Yes.
What drives that move?
Because I want more. I want better opportunities.
Yeah.
I want to be able to interact with the finest and the best, and to improve, to keep learning, and to observe at close quarters, and to to have access to some of the best, maybe technology out there, to recording, particularly regards to recording, recording classical piano music, going through all of that. There are some level, that we have not quite attained, in Nigeria, that if you're seeking to get to a certain degree, you may have to look elsewhere.
And I always say that at a certain point, greatness starts to look to compete at a global scale.
That's right.
And in all honesty, I believe that Africa right now is being confronted with that generation that is ready and willing to compete at a global scale.
That's right.
But I don't think that Africa has the infrastructure in place to support that, because the leadership still not quite yet where it should be. Yeah. It's still a growth. Yeah, it's still a growth process. We won't take anything away from what they're doing, but in all honesty, I don't think that they've yet adapted to the mindset of the generation that is ready to compete in a global scale.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
All right. So, your first take in America, what was your port of entry? East Coast, or you came directly to Texas?
No, it was New Jersey.
New Jersey, East Coast.
East Coast. Yeah.
So, what was your first impression of America?
Well, when I came in, I said, okay, America, well, this is good, it's great, but well, I need more.
Right.
I want
this
I want
is boring.
more. Not like it was boring, but I kind of had, greater expectations.
Right.
Maybe it was that way because I had been to Europe.
Right.
Yeah, I had, studied, been in England.
Right.
Moved around quite a bit.
Yeah.
If I was coming straight from Nigeria, probably I would be like wide-eyed. Oh,
yeah.
But that was
but you are men with an ambition. You are men with a specific goal. So your perspective and your way of looking at things is completely different. You really you zoned in. Yeah, you zoned in. Now, since you've been here, have you had a chance yet to do anything with either for the opera or for any big classic name musicians or anything like that?
Okay, so when I came in, I started playing. I think my first solo recital was in 2017, in the summer of 2017. I came in 2016.
Yeah.
So I played my first solo recital in a small town in Maysland in New Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah. Afterwards, I played other solo recitals in Pleasantville, in New York. Then I met a Nigerian countertenor based in Brooklyn, New York.
An accountant.
With whom I collaborate now. We have an album coming out next year.
That's actually a good combination.
Yeah, so we started working together.
Now you got the vocals, you got the keys, and they got the vocals.
Yeah, we started working together. We had Jasmine Thomas, the sopranos. Yeah. So, we formed like a collective, started playing concerts and all of that. Yeah. And then I got into some sort of collaboration with the Summers Point Arts Commission.
Okay.
Who, commissioned me to do. I did a public lecture. I did, concerts, solo performances of piano music by African composers.
There you
Nigerian and Ghanaian, composers. So I played music by Chris Anoyeji, my professor.
Yes.
And I played music by Fred Onoweresoke. I played music by J.H. Kwabena Nketia. I played music by other Nigerian composers, Chijioke Ngobili, and the rest of them. Yeah. So I've been,
And you know one thing though, you have a lot of responsibility on your shoulders. Let me tell you why. You're one of the very few Africans who is doing that. Yeah. You're one of the very few. To be honest with you, in the diaspora, you are the first one that I meet. Now, I know that there's a guy that does, I think, the violin or something. Does something similar. He does that with urban music. But piano, you are the first that I meet. And that's a lot of responsibility. Because now you have to represent the entire continent.
That's a lot of work.
Yes, it is a lot of work, but I think that it's very good, fruitful work.
Yeah.
Because in all honesty, part of the reason why Africa is not being able to succeed is because we have never owned our own narrative.
Yeah, that's right.
We always waited for somebody else to
Yeah.
do it for us, right?
And then it's never done right.
It's never done right.
If you don't tell your own story yourself,
There-
it's not going to be in your own interest.
Now you see exactly what I'm saying. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying that this is a lot of responsibility. And in all honesty, I know that South Africa, for instance, has had plenty of musicians attempting to do that. I remember that at one point, I mean, even on urban music, more connecting through jazz. I mean, like Jonathan Butler, who kind of did somewhat, I guess, what we would say the Fela Kuti sort of did, right? I mean, it's like you create this jazzy, somewhat in between hybrid genre that kind of becomes, and which is cool, but really to go and take that essence of an instrument and say that, hey, this is how this instrument is to be played in African sound.
Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah, that's the idea of African pianism, actually, because the idea is this piano as an instrument, it is Western.
Right.
But it has percussive qualities of African drums, African instruments, and we can actually take some of the kind of music we play in African traditions and African traditional music and write it.
Right.
And compose it in such a way that it's like classical music, art music, and then played, for the piano. So you hear the piano and then you hear this African music coming alive on the piano. All the drum and the rhythms, everything. You feel it. You feel it.
Yeah,
it's the kind of music you can even dance to if you know exactly what's going on in the music.
Exactly.
So you hear all the rhythms, all the even the tone, the harmony, the sort of thing you hear xylophones and some other instruments we play in Africa, and the sounds are, some of the things. So when you play the piano, it sounds really African.
Indeed.
Because of that idea of, bringing two cultures.
Yeah.
Together.
No, and that's the one thing that I think Africa missed on for the longest, because most of those kind of works, or most attempts of those kind of works, were being done by individuals who, one, they were not really Africans. Two, they didn't really quite understand African musicianship as well as individuals like yourself. I don't know if do you know Temacedo? She's a Portuguese young lady. An Angolan young lady, excuse me. She lives in Portugal. She's also someone that does that. Her name is Temacedo, T-E, last name is Macedo, M-A-C-E-D-O. Someone that you definitely kind of want to look into, because she's also one from the Angolan side. She's been that one musician that was actually going this route.
Yeah.
Right? She's a lady that could actually take an African piece and play on a specific instrument, and she also plays traditional instruments. So her dictionary, right? You know what I'm saying? Her dictionary
that's
is
an
very
advantage
good.
because I play the drums as well.
There you go, and that adds a lot of good translation when you're going from one thing to the other. But let's go ahead and take another break, man. Take another look at some of the content that you definitely have out there, because guess what? They love to hear us talk, but they love a lot more to see you perform. So we'll be right back. And we are back. If you just tuned in, you now join Diaspora Central Spotlight, and my guest today is ECHEZONACHUKWU. Eche. Oh, ECHEZONA.
Yes, brother Gil.
The author, the pianist, poet, or the poet pianist?
The poet pianist.
The poet pianist.
Yeah, the pianist poet.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to know which came first?
Yeah.
No, I started playing the piano long before I began to write.
Yeah.
Seriously, yeah.
So how do we land into poetry?
Well, poetry, my first fascination and interest was from school, from my school. although, when I was growing up, my parents had this, rich, like, personal library, family library, their books and all of that. So once in a while I will, peep in to go read.
Yeah.
But poetry didn't quite catch me at that point until I was in high school, studying literature, studying all the English classics, or the Shakespeare, and all of that. And then started, read a couple of, Nigerian poetry. Yeah, but the thing is, what caught me was the power of language. How a lot can be said in a few words, in a sentence, and then the music of it, the musicality of it, like it will keep ringing and ringing and ringing. I would say that what arrested me, what brought me to poetry, was the potency, the power of words, the musicality of words, or how just a sentence can pack quite a point. Right. So, but I was this very experimental, young guy. Just wanted to do just about everything. I'm like, okay, if these people could write this poetry, now they're teaching us in class, then I should be able to write too. Let me try and write my own. I'm that kind of person. Yeah.
So you wrote it?
Yeah, I wrote I started writing, but mostly juvenile poetry. Poems.
No, but do you remember your first piece though? A little bit of it.
I don't know, but I know it was some. It was some romantic stuff.
Was it? You don't remember a couple of lines?
No. Huh? It was some romantic, some sort of love, when you're beginning.
So there was a lady that you were dedicating that to.
Not in our school.
No, not yet.
Yeah, but elsewhere.
Yeah.
Actually thought of that. Yeah. And then I wrote another one for a friend. A guy who was very close to me. But then I stopped. I didn't quite continue.
Oh wow!
Through my university days.
Now,
at the University of Nigeria, I wasn't writing poetry.
So you just lost interest, or what happened?
I just decided to focus on music.
Yeah,
and I guess because. Because now I wasn't reading a lot of poetry, literature at the time. Because if I was reading a lot, I probably would have, kept on writing and all of that. Because reading makes you write, helps you write. For me. Yeah. So, but I was more immersed in classical music at the time. But then from 2011, 2012, when I started writing again and publishing, I never looked back.
No, but you got to remember one thing, though. While you're in college, you balling. You getting paid to play music.
Yeah.
Yeah. You on your zone. At that point, you Mr. You Mr. Nduka.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah. You're not just, come on, you sit down writing.
I was there to sit down
it's
writing.
It's not on the zone.
No, I wasn't even thinking of that at all.
Yeah. No, you don't, but it's like our own selves know where we're trying to go.
Well, I think now that, with
God
the
benefit
benefit of hindsight, some things take time.
Yeah,
maybe the poetry needed to...
Well, I
needed to be prepared for that.
God needed to take you where he was taking you.
Yeah.
So that by the time you write that first piece now is coming with enough life experience that actually adds value to what is being penned down. Right?
Yeah, but when I now started writing and publishing from 2011, 2012, 2013, most of my poems at the time were quite political. Socio-political, highly political pieces. Responding to the politics of
Chronicles
of our time in Nigeria. That was quite like, the usual thing, the natural thing to do at the time. Because you look around at the environment, you see what's going on. Right. You turn on the television, you hear the news, you read the newspapers. The creative person in you that wants to write, all those things will keep coming in. Yeah. So I wrote quite a lot of political poems at the time when I was starting out. Yeah.
So and then you are a debater by heart.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You're someone that grew up debating.
Yeah. Even before I became a debater. I'll tell you something really funny.
Go.
Maybe I was 8 or barely 8 as a child. Remember I told you about my background. I grew up in a church setting. I read the Bible reading in church, right? The church where I read the lectern, if I stood there, my head couldn't be seen.
Right.
So they had to put on something for me to climb on.
Stool.
Yeah, a stool. Yeah, so the congregation would
step
see me.
onto.
So, I was that little when I started reading. Appearing in public, doing stuff, but mostly because of church, So, I wasn't quite the kind of kid who had stage fright,
right?
Or I'll see a lot of people and I'll be afraid. No, that wasn't there. I could speak to him. If you like, be back in full stadium, I would, I had that boldness as a child.
Yeah, confidence.
So, that confidence, it was there. So one of the things I could do, I liked, public speaking and all of that. So I said, debate, join the debate, so, they give you topics and all of that. And I did quite well, represented our school and all that, helped me to gain confidence to speak in public and, and all of that. And then, I think maybe that was why I was even made the socials prefect, because I became the socials and library prefect.
There you go. So in 2011, when you put that pen back down onto a piece of paper, you craft that piece of work. You go back, you read it, and you decide that you're going to publish it, or someone else tells you, you know what, this is good enough that needs to be published.
Now, what happened, there is this, process, if you're starting out as a poet, because there are journals, independent journals, magazines, literary journals, with editors, and sometimes they would publish occasional pieces, or they would collect and publish issues.
Right.
So what I was doing at the time was to submit to those journals.
Okay, so you had already made the decision that you're writing, you were going to try to publish something.
Yeah, to send them out.
Right.
Let the editors
now, were
decide.
they paying? Right. Now, were they paying? Would they pay if they published it all, or you were just doing it for?
Yeah, most of the places where my pieces were first published, they weren't paid.
So you were just really trying to see if you got this thing or you don't. You're writing them, send them out.
Yeah, it's good to have other people look at what you're doing. Have editors read it. Having your writing published by an independent journal with editors, board of editors, it's a sort of validation.
Indeed.
To say, we think this is good. Yeah. So it gives you some sort of confidence
that's
to keep on going.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
I needed to do that before I collect, before I, talk about maybe collecting and publishing a book.
Right.
So that, for me, I think it's still the usual process. You need to be tested out there.
Yeah,
you don't just write in your room and then decide to publish on your own.
Well, some people do that.
But there are so many ways to describe.
Right. Yeah, but the way you're describing is what we consider iron sharpening iron.
Yeah, because, you have other journals
other people will give you they'll read your work, they'll validate you, and that in turn will help you either become better or try to whatever adjust accordingly.
Right? So that was what I did first. Send out works, got a lot of rejections,
which is part of the game.
Yeah, which is part of it.
You're being sharp.
I'm used to
you're
it
being
now.
sharpened.
They'll say, this piece, not quite right for us at this time and all that kind of. So they'll start first and then say, unfortunately, this piece. So it's normal now. So but I got a lot of publications as well.
Yeah, but eventually you got one in there.
Yeah, I got one.
Do you remember which one? Do you remember what the first one was?
I think
that got published.
I think it was My Homeland.
My Homeland. Do you remember a few lines of it?
Published in Kalahari Review. It's something about. I know it's political. It's something about my country, Nigeria.
Yeah.
Did I quite memorize it? No, but it should be somewhere online. Then I wrote another one, Sweet Sweet Rose.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
after that.
Something like that. Yeah, published by Graz Launch.
Okay.
It was a publishing company at the time, a publishing house. They had their blog where they were publishing writers. So I sent that poem to them, and they published it. And years later, they would go on to become my publishers. They published my first 2 poetry collections.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, so they too realized that, you know what, I think we sharpened them enough. Now we need to put them on.
Yeah, that was years ago, 2018 when my first book came out. My manuscript had gone through several edits, even the names of the name of the book. Right. Now my first book is titled Chrysanthemums for Wide-Eyed Ghosts.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the first title of the book. It was first called Echoes of Sentiments.
Oh, wow.
Then it was called Dreams in a Fortnight or something like that.
Okay.
Before it now became Chrysanthemums or Wide-Eyed Ghosts. So you could see
the evolution.
The evolution.
Yeah,
many levels of change.
Yeah, indeed.
So they published that, and 2 years after, 2020, we published Waterman.
Okay.
But by then, they moved to Canada and registered the company in Canada, and then started getting collaborating with distributors and all of that. So you have Gross Launch published in Canada now. So they published the second book.
Now that's your own company.
No, that's the same company.
That's the same company that published the first book.
The first book, in Nigeria.
Okay. Yeah.
The second one in Canada.
In Canada.
And now, thankfully, it's being taught in one of the universities in Canada.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which one of the books?
Waterman, my second book, is being taught. Students are studying it in university.
There you go.
In Canada. Yeah.
So that now turns you into a real scholar, right? So our audiobook now is the next thing that we're waiting for. And the audiobook, that body of work needs to have music behind it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I've thought about that, but
yeah, no, yeah, that's the challenge. I think that's the challenge. That's part of their responsibility, because now you represent the whole continent. Now you represent all of us, and we see pride in you, in having someone that can. So we need that one, poem audio book with music, with African piano music behind it, that can actually represent us.
That's interesting.
We need that kind of a Grammy, right?
Okay.
We need that kind of a Grammy in the continent. Yeah, we need that kind of a Grammy in the continent. The diaspora needs that.
I'll say amen to that.
Indeed. I'm manifesting already, brother, because I'm telling you, I'm already manifesting here, because this is really like if we're gonna do something, we gotta do something big.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. If we're gonna do something, we gotta do something big. We gotta scale. We gotta scale our game, and you've been scaling your game all along. I mean, you're not afraid of being sharpened by iron, because you know you iron.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Someone once told me this, and they said, "Listen, if you are wood, don't mess with iron. And if you are iron, don't mess with wood, because wood will dull iron, and iron will damage wood."
Yeah, that's right.
So iron needs to play with iron so that it can be sharper. Now, in regards to the book that is being studied, that process, actually, you published the book. The book is out now. It's being picked up even by universities that are taking interest on your work, making you now a scholar, right? You, on a personal perspective, do you already have the next book on the way? Is it already done?
Gil, you want to get me to talk about my next work? I don't like to talk so much about what I'm working
what
on.
You got going on.
But what I have to tell you is this: I'm writing.
You're writing.
Yeah, I'm
which
writing.
Is a good thing.
I'm writing,
and that's a good thing.
At the right time,
you're busy.
They'll be collected. Yes,
yeah, you're busy.
Yeah,
you're
and
busy.
for me, what's even interesting, what gives me so much joy now is that I'm not only writing, although I've had some fiction, some short stories published, but I haven't published short stories in a while.
Yeah.
But now I'm writing non-fiction essays.
But that's a good
essays.
thing.
So I'm writing poems. I'm working on poetry, and I'm working on creative non-fiction as well.
There you go.
So
you're becoming that's growth, evolution. You experiencing new things. You sharpening your.
Yeah, it's
your
important.
craft.
I always want to outdo myself. I feel like, listen, if you feel you've done this, you can always do better.
That's ambition, brother.
Yeah,
and ambition is a good thing to have. Yeah.
So my next book, right?
Yeah.
Since I said I don't want to talk about it, but to have an idea of what it's going to be like, I have a couple of poems from that manuscript already published.
Okay.
Jazz Abibiman.
Okay.
And some other poems in Eche magazine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So people can Google it and search for it online.
Jazz Abibiman.
Abibiman.
If you search Jazz Abibiman, you see I think it's 4 poems, a string of 4 poems.
You.
Yeah, a suite of 4 poems.
Yeah.
On Eche magazine. That gives you an idea of what the next book it's gonna be like.
Got you. Now, if they needed to get to your work, your content, your stuff, how would they go? What's your social media?
Okay, my website first is artnduka.com. www.artnduka.com. ARTNDUKA.com.
Okay.
Artnduka.com.
Yeah.
Then I'm on Instagram as the Poet Pianist.
Okay.
Then I'm on Twitter as Eche Nduka.
All right.
At Eche Nduka on Twitter.
Okay.
Then I'm on Facebook as well.
Yeah.
If you just type ECHEZONACHUKWU Nduka, my full name, or the Poet Pianist, you're going to see.
Got you.
Yeah. I'm on social media, very active on social media.
Yeah, and people can also always come down to diasporacentral.net, and we're going to have some of that information regarding this great scholar that Diaspora now has here in the U.S. I mean, brother, it's been a pleasure to have you here. Anything that I've forgotten to touch on that you would like to bring up to the attention of our audience at all?
Nothing. I think we've discussed virtually everything.
Yeah.
Or maybe there could be more.
Yeah.
But we've talked about my music, piano, and then poetry, author. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's about it. Just
Yeah.
for now.
You'll be back. That's the promise
I'll
right
be back.
there.
Yeah, something else is going on, but it's not ready.
Not ready
yeah,
to be exposed. So as soon as that is ready, you know that this is home for you.
Another creative part of me.
Right. Yeah. But remember, Diaspora Central is home for you. Don't ever hesitate. Anytime you feel that you have something that you need to reach an audience for, you can always stop by here first, and we'll definitely accommodate
Thank you so
brother.
much, Gil.
Yeah,
thank
indeed.
You. Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
No, thank you.
I deeply appreciate this.
No, thank you. Listen, Diaspora, stand up because ECHEZONACHUKWU is in the building, and representing us very well, brother. We like to see scholars such as yourself making that mark in a global competition. It's an honor to have a university study this African writer with a different perspective, and he just happens to also be a good pianist. Brother, listen, it's been a pleasure, man.
Thank you.
Yeah. And for those of you that took a little bit of time out of your busy schedules to join us today, we appreciate you. And remember, support is the best thing that you can give to anyone around you. Not necessarily us, but maybe those right around you. Remember, if we don't do it for ourselves, no one else will. Until next time, peace.